Dear Lord, for I have sinned. I have an unhealthy obsession with this chicken wing boy named Sunday, and I am always ready on my knees to be at his disposal. This video is probably going to take a while because it is my moment to yap on how amazing Penacony's quest so far. I really couldn't shut the fuck up. Also, I always have a thing for antagonists like Sunday. Whether he is the villain or the anti-hero of the story is up for anyone to decide, but I also understand the mischaracterization he gets since he is such a complex character. Now, I'm not trying to say, okay guys, I'm here to clear up this is how we should view Sunday, because that would defeat the purpose of this video. Sunday is such an interesting character himself that there are so many ways to interpret him. I have caught myself into a spiral of references and readings to describe him. In this video, I would like to interpret my own understanding of Sunday by going through his mental process and his beliefs. As an early disclaimer, I acknowledge that Sunday has heavy references from the Bible, and there are amazing people out there who have created an analysis on this, so feel free to check them out. Therefore, I will focus on a more biological and philosophical standpoint, as these are familiar domains for me. By biological, I refer specifically to the human race on Earth, aligning with Sunday's main concern for humanity and contemporary definitions similar to our reality. But most importantly, at the end of the day, we can all agree to disagree. To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. Let's dive into a brief history of Sunday to understand his character better. Sunday's childhood is still unclear, and there is not much information besides being a victim of the Stellaron. His family was killed and was left with Robin as orphans. Gopher Wood soon adopted them and took them under his wing, no pun intended. But here's the thing, they were never truly saved. Once Gopher has taken them in, especially for Sunday, he was nothing but a mere pawn in Gopher's grand scheme. Meanwhile, for Sunday, he was unable to process his grieving and trauma correctly, having Gopher to groom him with the teachings of order. In the death of a crow, heavily implying that you refers to Sunday, eagerly you had wished the story to meet a happy end. Eagerly you had wished no birds would plummet, their demise to bewail. As a child, he perceives death and loss as enduring forms of suffering. He holds the belief that once one acknowledges their impending end, there is nothing beyond it, and those born frail and weak are deprived of a fair opportunity to live life to its fullest. With his early doubts about harmony, he wondered why people still found solace in it if it could not stop the inevitable destruction and loss, only to be led to darkness and void. I find this line to be very interesting. Sweet dreams are no paradise of mine. To Sunday, the idea that sweet dreams cannot provide true happiness or paradise. This suggests that even in the dreamscape, which are typically seen as a refuge or a place of comfort and happiness, the people will find no solace or peace. This line conveys a deep sense of disillusionment, indicating that dreams itself does not solve the suffering of people's waking life. Gopher feeds Sunday's resentment to his own motive, tainting the idea of harmony with its flaws and how the Order was able to achieve that wish of his. For your information, this poem deeply combines elements from The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. It's natural to think that the raven could represent Gopher himself. However, in the original poem, there is ambiguity about how the raven is able to eerily imitate words that suit the speaker's mental state every single time. This suggests the possibility that Sunday was still in a dream, and the raven was just a voice in his head in the form of Gopher. If this is true, it illustrates the mind's ability to torment itself, revealing that psychological hauntings can be as damaging and destructive as physical threats, foreshadowing what he will soon become. As he matures, he gains a deeper understanding of the harshness of the world. Sunday believes creating choices are the cause of human suffering as they are mere illusions. This is similar to the illusion of choice. In simpler definition, it describes how we believe we have agency and autonomy in our decision-making, but in reality, all choices lead to a predetermined or similar outcome. Although it seems that there are many options available, these options are influenced by external forces which limits the individual's true autonomy of making decisions. This is demonstrated when he proposed the questions, where our choices all ended up to have bad outcomes either way. He believes the sense of self-worth traps us, implying that our perception of our own value confines and limits our choices in life. And when self-worth has also become a limiting factor, he empathizes with those who are born with weakness, incapable of going through a perilous journey called life, as these external forces weigh down their options, only resorting to survival. To top it off, a profound research has correlated that choices rarely make people feel more likely to achieve preferable outcomes. When choice seemed to have an effect, it was due to participants' existing illusory beliefs, not because the choice itself caused an illusion of control. When faced with choices, those feeling weak or disadvantaged may view them as burdensome rather than empowering. Similarly, those resorting to cowardice might avoid making decisions, fear of taking accountability for their illusioned autonomy in decision-making. Meanwhile, there are those who share Sunday's belief that outcomes are predetermined by external forces beyond their influence, leading them to refuse to make decisions. Both scenarios heighten feelings of helplessness and a survival-based mentality, perceiving options as inherently limited and autonomy as constrained by life's harsh realities. And that is why he said,
"Well, don't forget this. Not everyone really has a future."
As those who are especially born weak and disadvantaged is only living to survive.
If there are birds in this world that can never fly, can we really assert that they belong in the sky?
That is to say, is it fair for them to live in the same world as those who were born with advantages? If there are people born and only destined to meet their demise, is there still a meaning to put hope on them?
When it comes to survival, everyone is equal. And the weak can only watch as their value gets constantly diminished by external forces.
Through his perspective, simply following the path of harmony isn't enough. Believing in a constructed sense of self-worth makes people prone to mistakes, and they often expect others to bear the consequences. Consequently, he observes that the powerful exploit the weak under the guise of protection, shaping the future to benefit themselves. The actions and decisions made by the powerful will create a sustainable future only for them in the long term. Hence, this implies that heroes may unknowingly cause more harm than good to the weak. This phenomenon further relates to his argument,
as long as the law of survival of the fittest prevails, there will always be fledglings crashing to their death.
In instances where the strong manage to overcome and adapt to perilous situations, the principle of natural selection will still prevail. It is nearly impossible to manipulate nature throughout the cosmos and evade natural law. Therefore, he can never truly escape the phenomenon of natural selection. However, he understood that nature itself is accompanied by predation and sacrifice. Recognizing the inevitability of natural selection, he decides to embrace his role within it by choosing to sacrifice himself for the greater good of human evolution.
We must teach the weak how to live a happy life. And this life isn't some noble propriety that the upper crust preaches, but in definitive terms, a way of survival that belongs to everyone.
To him, his definition of strong governing the weak was not of a tyrant, but instead, as he mentioned, teaching the weak how to live a happy life. But what does this really mean? With him as the only sacrifice, he wants people to be able to live harmoniously by creating a world where external circumstances are catered towards the weak without having to make difficult choices. He employs the illusion of free choice, creating a controlled environment where people believe they have control over their choices, but in reality, he is manipulating the outcomes to ensure they cause minimal suffering. To clarify even further, he aims to establish a protected world that is not subject to the natural laws of the universe. Within this bubble, he would act as a new governing force or external law, guiding and managing everything to ensure that individuals inside can live their lives freely and happily according to his design. Essentially, he seeks to create a utopian world where he has the power to shape experiences and outcomes, shielding people from the harsh realities of the natural world. It's just like how we progressed through the story. Either way, we defeated Sunday and had a happy ending to continue our trailblazing before knowing it was nothing but a dream. Moreover, it does not seem that he wants to build a paradise of mankind, seeking endless pleasure, but rather a haven of tranquility.
During these hard-earned rest days, people are given the chance to extricate themselves from the stresses of everyday life, allowing a certain tranquility to return to their souls.
In other words, rather than a world to maximize pleasure, he wishes to minimize the pain of humanity.
From where I stand, society's ideal system should be 7 rest days. Following Sunday, there should ensue a second, a third, and indeed an infinite procession of Sundays. This should be the face of the new world. Idyllic, eternal, peaceful days.
Sunday's quote presents a radical vision of an ideal society where time is no longer segmented into working days and rest days, but is instead a continuous, peaceful existence. This idea challenges the very foundation of our current societal structure, which heavily relies on the division of time for economic productivity. In our current capitalist society, time is money. We've sliced time into hours, minutes, and seconds, and we sell these pieces of our lives for wages. This is the commodification of time. From the moment the work week starts, our time is no longer our own. It's traded for economic productivity. E.P. Thompson's research shows how this rigid structure of time began during the Industrial Revolution. Before that, time was more fluid, linked to natural rhythms and tasks, not the relentless tick of the clock. Sunday's vision flips this idea on its head. Imagine if every day was a day of rest. No more trading time for money, no more slicing our lives into work hours and fleeting weekends. Time would flow naturally, uninterrupted, and free from economic constraints. This is a profound critique of capitalism. In a capitalist system, our worth is often measured by our productivity, but Sunday's vision suggests that our value lies not in what we produce, but in our very existence. The concept of continuous rest represents a radical shift towards valuing human life and well-being over economic output. It suggests a society where people are free to pursue their passions, creativity, and personal growth without the constraints of commodified time. By envisioning a world of endless Sundays, Sunday challenges us to rethink our relationship with time. What if we valued life and well-being over productivity? Perhaps this is the ultimate sacrifice, the willingness to bear the burden of time, all to liberate people from the shackles of capitalistic constructs. And perhaps this is why this Trailblazer Mission chapter is named In Our Time. Now the question is, how does he do it? This part is quite complicated because both Gopher's grand scheme and Sunday's personal motive intertwine with each other. Let's start from the beginning.
In the beginning.
As the family started to govern and help to build Penacony, it drew people together to enjoy the sweet dreamscape. However, attracting many dream chasers from across the universe isn't sufficient to form a faction that can coexist long-term due to their differences. This problem is where the power of harmony has already come into play, being able to gather civilizations throughout the universe to sing in unison, thus creating a tight-knit community.
Master, why did you choose to bring the order to Penacony? Wouldn't it have been better to choose a desperate world instead of a city filled with hope and dreams? Why?
Well, in Penacony, the presence of high concentrations of memoria enables people to enter a collective dream. This shared dreamscape, powered by the Stellaron, works in Gopher's favor to merge reality with Ina's dream, making it difficult to distinguish between the two.
Is this real?
A dream can be advantageous because it allows for greater control and manipulation of the environment and experiences within it. In a dream, the usual constraints of reality do not apply, meaning that the governing force, in this case, Gopher, or specifically Sunday, can shape and influence the world according to their desires and ideals. This manipulation can foster order to emerge from harmony that might be harder to achieve in the waking world, where natural laws and individual differences present significant challenges.
And through harmony, we obtain order.
Besides the technical details, the situation sounds sinister, as Penacony is accessible for Gopher to use about 100,000 souls of the Oak family under the name of Justice. To Gopher, the restoration of order is his highest interest. In Sunday's ideal, he did not stand from only one path. Sunday questions us, wise and perceptive as you are, answer me this: why could the harmony and the order merge into one?
Because neither side could tolerate discord.
As Kafka mentioned,
paths with overlapping concepts will eventually collide.
and the broader path will engulf the narrower one. That's how Enna the Order was assimilated, by Shipe the Harmony.
But Sunday requires each path individually, harmony as the foundation to ensure peace and unity, and order to establish structure and control with its divine laws assisting in governance. Then, by intertwining them, each path retained its essential function, bringing his ideals to life. Like he literally created an embryo of a new path, which could have made him into an Aeon if we didn't railed him. Before discussing my views on his ideals, I believe he ultimately cares deeply about humanity's future.
Oh, revered triple-faced soul, hear my doubts. Who can judge the strong when their power hides their crimes? Who can vouch for the weak when they will pay any price to survive? Who can comfort the purest souls when even they get led astray? If the strong defending the weak is truly the foundation of paradise, then who is responsible for the suffering and anguish in this wretched world?
Unfortunately, that pure soul that has been led astray was Sunday himself. Burdened by seeing people's guilt and suffering, he sacrificed himself to resolve his doubts, only to become a part of Gopher's plan for his own benefit. Although he sometimes questions Gopher's beliefs, he feels too committed to retract. However, it seems like he purposely let Robin know of his true intentions, as he planned to take her place in the Shamani festival from the beginning. Sunday truly loves her and simply wants to fulfill his promise. I believe his tipping point to go all in was when Gopher informed him about Robin's injury after being shot by a stray bullet.
She hoped to ease the people's suffering with song, and was willing to brave mortal danger to deliver the IPC's medical supplies. Unfortunately, stray bullets show no such compassion.
Gopher took advantage of this moment to manipulate the narrative, questioning the success of Robin's mission to promote the path of harmony. By highlighting the tragic outcome of her efforts, he intended to imply that her good intentions were inherently flawed and ultimately led to unexpected consequences. This subtle manipulation aimed to discredit the Harmony Initiative and depict it as a cause of suffering rather than a solution. I don't believe in condemning him entirely for his actions. It is crucial to note that he was groomed and manipulated since childhood during his most vulnerable states of grief and loss. His isolation made him dependent on Gopher, seeking his approval and guidance in all aspects of his life, further reinforcing his commitment to the Order. This manipulation deprived him of the opportunity to develop an independent moral compass and critical thinking skills. Understanding what happens to the mind of someone being influenced from a first point of view is important. Individuals who are manipulated and groomed in a cult or religious belief system undergo profound psychological changes. One of the key component theories that is involved is called cognitive dissonance. This theory is developed by a study led by Festinger. When people with strongly held beliefs are confronted by evidence clearly at odds with their beliefs, they will seek to resolve the discomfort caused by the discrepancy by convincing others to support their views rather than abandoning their commitments. Growing in a manipulated environment, Sunday may experience discomfort due to witnessing contradictory beliefs with Gopher's teachings and the path of harmony. For instance, his conflict with his sister about whether they should keep the Charmony dove safe in a cage. The path of harmony, which Sunday and his sister also value, emphasizes living in unison and balance with nature, suggesting that the bird should be free to fly. However, Gopher's teachings of order, which advocate for strict control, dictate that the bird must be kept safe and under control, even if it means caging it. This internal conflict represents cognitive dissonance. Amplified by Sunday's controlling nature, this discomfort motivates him to reduce the dissonance, creating logical but often false or self-deceptive explanations to justify or minimize the conflicting information.
I think people believe birds are meant to fly because they've never seen those birds crashing to their death. For now, I'll keep it in a cage until it can take care of itself because I want it to live, no matter what.
In cult studies, this is called rationalization, reinforcing their existing beliefs. Eventually, the death of the shamani. Dove forces Sunday to further rationalize his beliefs by convincing himself that strict control and safety measures were indeed necessary from the beginning, therefore reinforcing his alignment with order, and tries to convince Robin and us even during his boss battle.
If your paradise can save more people, sever my path with your hands.
Given these psychological constraints and his manipulated upbringing, it is evident that Sunday's capacity to make independent ethical decisions was severely impaired. I'm not saying he isn't responsible for his own actions, but blaming him entirely for actions driven by deeply ingrained beliefs and a coerced loyalty overlooks the profound impact of his grooming since childhood. Therefore, while his actions seem cruel, they stem from a place of deep, prolonged psychological manipulation and a lack of true autonomy, making it unjust to hold him fully accountable. It's essential to cross the line between Sunday's idealistic motives and intentions. Sunday envisions a paradise of happiness for humanity, aiming to utilize order as the foundation from harmony to achieve this vision. Sunday believes that by establishing a strict sense of order, he can create a world where everyone can experience eternal happiness.
Stop it! You want to achieve the paradise we promised. But the order is not the only choice. True happiness and the meaning of life lie in defying the nihility and embracing all that life offers.
Robin argues that true happiness and the essence of life are found not in rigid order, but in embracing the full spectrum of life's experiences, including its uncertainties and challenges. By defying nihility, representing emptiness or meaninglessness, Robin suggests that embracing all aspects of life is the path to genuine fulfillment.
So, why does life slumber?
When Sunday is ultimately defeated, he doesn't question his ideals about creating a paradise for humans, but instead questions his motive of placing people in an endless dream. His question reflects a deep contemplation about the purpose and value of life when it is lived in an artificial state.
Because someday we will wake from our dreams.
The Trailblazers' response serves as a powerful counterpoint to Sunday's dream-based paradise. It suggests that the true value of life lies in its dynamic and ever-changing nature, which includes waking from dreams and facing reality. This awakening represents growth, learning, and the authentic human experience that cannot be achieved through artificial means. In the end, it's not about creating a perfect world through order, but about finding true happiness by embracing all that life has to offer. The article, When Prophecy Fails and Faith Persists, discusses the psychological mechanisms and social dynamics that explain why individuals remain committed to cults despite clear evidence contradicting their beliefs, highlighting real recognition has not occurred, and that is why the groups continue. This suggests that Sunday may still hold faith in his ideals even after the disruption of Ina's dream. Most importantly, it provides evidence that Sunday's beliefs cannot be changed overnight. If they were to change, it would likely lead him to a sense of existential meaninglessness.
Despite your fall from grace, you still look well. I'm very glad to see that you're so full of verve.
Despite how hopeless Sunday seems, it is obvious that he still treasures his sister as his voice takes on a slightly anticipative tone when he speaks of Robin.
Robin?
His silence, rather than outright rejecting Jade's offer, reveals something important. He is still thinking of his vow to his sister, clinging to that hope despite his fall from grace.
Go now. You are free, O Chosen One, who dare to exceed his bounds. Sever your wings, descend to the mortal realm, and walk their lands. See what this world is truly like.
Perhaps this is his destiny and his next journey. Having transgressed, he must relinquish his higher status and abilities as part of his descent, living among humans and experiencing life as they do. His fall from grace is a consequence of his past actions. The cage that once confined him is finally opened. This newfound freedom is essential for his journey. To truly save humanity, he must gain first-hand wisdom about the human condition. Only by walking in their shoes can he understand what they truly need. This humbling journey is vital for his transformation. Hopefully, this time he will get it right and fulfill his true purpose.
The end is also the beginning.
So let's get on to the real talk. While Sunday's ideal sounds convincing, having a fulfilling life that goes your way every time, there is always a flaw, and the biggest flaw is the dream itself. Before asking why one slumbers, we should ask what happens when one slumber. Let's go back to basic biology and a little neuroscience. For every normal human being, when you sleep, you go through different stages. You can dream in any stage, but most dreaming appears to occur during the rapid eye movement, also known as REM stage. During REM sleep, brain activity most closely resembles when we're awake. Interestingly, a study suggested that dreaming during REM sleep can be similar to experiencing a virtual reality generated by our brains. In essence, our dreams allow us to sense, act, and feel within this constructed reality. Assuming Panakani's dream pool technology and the high concentration of memoria in Asdana is responsible for altering normal sleep architecture to prolong REM stage of sleep, it makes sense how we are able to experience the synesthesia dreamscape. Research indicates a part of the prefrontal cortex from the brain, which is in charge of reasoning, stays quiet during dreaming. This may explain why, in Ina's dream, as it is difficult for many to wake up because they can be so uncritical during such dreams, accepting the crazy events as though they are real. Meanwhile, some parts of the prefrontal area that plays a key role in social cognition and emotional processing are reactivated during REM. Hence, this is why we're able to function and interact normally at some point in the dreamscape. But here is an important key point. Several other brain structures enhance their activity during a REM sleep compared to waking. And most of these areas of the brain are involved in primitive instincts, especially this region called the amygdala, that's responsible for fight or flight mode when you sense danger. Thus, when you are dreaming, once the logical part of your brain is dormant, part of your primal brain takes over, suggesting a higher sensitivity towards threat. This is further explained by Acheron when she suggested a way to force people to wake up by their own, as disrupting the sweet dream into destruction can instinctively awaken those who are in slumber.
Like a drowning individual in the deep sea. When one's body and mind bear immense pressure, agony, confusion, and despair will follow. I firmly believe that. The fragility of humankind often freezes them in their tracks. But in truly desperate situations, they will strive to save themselves. It's through this inherent, self-centered instinct that people exert their utmost effort, even when they know their struggle is fruitless. As absurd as it may seem, it's their resistance.
This is the first thing that Sunday may have overlooked or perhaps have taken a huge risk, as he explains the dreamscape could cast aside their primal instincts under the banner of order if everyone remained unthreatened. To what extent is he sure there will be no external force able to penetrate the dream into chaos? The truth is, our primal instincts on survival are inevitable, which is the nature of being human. Having primal instincts amplified in Ina's dream would lead to a higher sensitivity to threat, and when such an overwhelming threat is triggered, that is where people have the strongest will to wake up.
For mortals, even if they possess the great power of a path, they can't create a flawless world like gods do. That's why there was a flaw in your dream. In other words, once you have realized the world is not real, you'll have a chance to break free from the dream.
Acheron further proves a weakness in his ideal. Sunday could not even create the perfect paradise of happiness in the first place. Sooner or later, it becomes evident to realize that something is not right, just as Robin visioned in her dream, as well as for us with the help of Black Swan, where she further quotes, "Unfortunately, human consciousness always gravitates toward reality." There is also an important key detail about memoria itself. Memoria, a key element in this context, has significant negative effects.
Even after eons, the memoria concentration up ahead is above normal levels. Usually this wouldn't be a huge problem, but everyone's different, so if you exhibit any signs of dizziness, hallucination, distorted memories, or any other symptoms, you should take them seriously.
Reports indicate that prolonged exposure to high concentrations of unprocessed memoria results in severe physical and mental degradation. Many have succumbed to debilitating psychological disorders, especially among those who did not legally enter the dreamscape from the reverie. Plus, Ina's dream is all-encompassing. Acheron mentioned that early in our journey into Asdana, we were already affected by the Stellaron, indicating that anyone entering Asdana becomes trapped in Ina's dream. This dreamscape, influenced by memoria, naturally triggers side effects, posing a threat to those within it. Furthermore, historical data from the criminal files archived by the Bloodhound family show that psychological impact is not just theoretical, but has real, devastating consequences.
The family's protection for Penacony has expired. Any mishaps in the dreamscape could result in permanent brain death.
An Intellitron named Domanda, who suffered deterioration and malfunctioning caused by a meme attack, used his dream-weaving knowledge to cause significant harm. He intentionally caused building collapses and meme generation events, resulting in psychological damage to 1,958 individuals. This demonstrates how psychological illness and distress can infiltrate and wreak havoc within the dreamscape. To quote Sunday,
Just as the family has always proclaimed, no one can be harmed in the dreamscape, least of all in the beautiful new world belonging to the Order.
reveals a discrepancy. Though you cannot be physically harmed, yet the mind will always stay affected. Whether Sunday processes the memoria on a planetary scale or not remains uncertain. However, the presence of psychological illness within the dreamscape is a critical flaw in Ina's dream, especially as it spreads across Asdana, facilitating easier entry into this flawed paradise.
It is not forsaking, but transcending. Flesh, blood, sorrow, weakness. If the physical is the root of spiritual suffering, it is only logical that we defeat it.
Sunday's claim that transcending the physical body to enter a sweet dream liberates the conscious mind from suffering is questionable. I would ask Sunday, if a paradise where external circumstances are always in our favor, then what happens if our choices are influenced internally? What if the internal states, which are our thoughts, emotions, and mental, lead to unhappiness and suffering? Can a place be considered a paradise for humans if the mind's illnesses remain unhealed within the sweet dream? Past cases of psychological distress within the dreamscape show that individuals are either trapped in the dream or forced to wake up. This argument does not aim to discriminate against mental illness, but to highlight the shortcomings in Sunday's ideal. If one's mental state remains preserved when transcending into the sweet dream and vulnerable within it, it suggests that the mind, where free will operates, is stronger than Sunday thinks. Even in a perfect world, one can choose to think against it, introducing imperfection simply because they can. A strong will holds the highest value to what it becomes to be truly human. To what extent you are willing to believe in useless things is very important. If we don't, we have nothing at all. Even if it's an illusionary sense of self-worth. Historically, the ability to create meaning from nothing has allowed humans to survive until today. In Penacony, the collective will to survive, believing that simply staying alive is enough to be worthy and powerful, was strong enough to break free from Ina's dream. This shows that human resilience and free will are stronger than any imposed ideal, proving that a paradise cannot be truly perfect if it fails to account for the complexities of the human mind.
Witness the will of the weak!
So why does one slumber? Well, from a philosophical standpoint, it is rather a multifaceted phenomenon. It is essential for physical and mental restoration, a means of escape and solace, a connection to the subconscious, and the list goes on. From how I personally view it, exactly what Trailblazer said. Simply put, we fall into slumber because our bodies recognize it as a safe, restful state. During this time, our minds wander, preparing to awaken before facing life's ongoing journey, reminding us of our existence and that we're still alive. And Dr. Ratio's letter to Aventurine has answered this too. Death is inevitable for humans, and dormancy is impossible as we all continue to progress in life, passing the present to our future even when we sleep. In Stoicism philosophy, the general belief is that suffering is mostly caused by our error in judgment to put value on things whether they're good or bad. The most easy example is weakness. Sunday has put a value on weakness as something bad. According to his judgment, it left a huge impression on him. His anger and resentment got the best of him, and Gopher enabled him to further push his ideals despite not understanding the bigger picture. As quoted by Marcus Aurelius, "But death and life, honor and dishonor, pain and pleasure, all these things equally happen to good men and bad, being things which make us neither better nor worse. Therefore, they are neither good nor evil. Weakness is inevitable, therefore it is a fact." His philosophy suggests that it is our response to these experiences that matters, not the experiences themselves. Weakness has helped us to grow and evolve, and most importantly, the essence of what it is to be human. By removing it, it defeats the ideal of a haven for mankind. It is true people aren't inherently valuable simply by being born. That's why it's crucial to discover our own purpose, no matter how much time it requires. If having your existence to be sealed with purpose, it is letting someone else decide your fate.
Life's a constant cycle of vain endeavors. But at the same time, since it is meaningless, then this moment of becoming is a precious and beautiful thing indeed. That one moment belongs to that person alone.
In the final scene, Sunday and Robin's true promise to each other was revealed. It seemed like a conversation about how things went before Gopher indoctrinated Sunday, or rather, dare I say, from someone's sweet dream.
As for the question you asked, I think stars do die, just like people. But do you know, sister? No star actually belongs to the present. The light we see from them is from a long time ago, even after the stars perished. Their light will travel millions of light years, spanning countless years, to illuminate the night sky of another world.
And just like stars that die but still shines bright, people will meet their end sooner or later, but whatever comes after, their will still lives on.